Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Today, I'm having a conversation with Dr. Brooks Demming, and we're going to talk about resilience and so much more. So, let me introduce you to my guest. Dr. Brooks is a Christian life coach, author, and entrepreneur who works with other people to remove the perceived obstacles that are holding them back. And so, I cannot wait to get into my conversation with Dr. Brooks. Dr. Brooks, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here with you on today.
Yes, I'm glad that I got you here today, so we can talk about resilience and we can talk about your book.
Yes,
All right, so
definitely.
yeah, so let's just jump right into it. What led you to write your book, The Six Pillars of Resilience?
Well, basically, it was about 3 to 4 year time span where I was having things happen to me back to back to back. I was looked over for promotions. One of my friends was diagnosed with cancer. I had enrolled into a doctorate program. I had a 4.0 at the time, but I was administratively withdrawn from the university. I had another coworker that got, diagnosed with cancer. And then my mom took ill. I had to move her from Alabama to Georgia to become her primary caregiver. So it was just so many things that was happening. And I felt like I could not catch my breath. But I was able to still get through those things. And when I would just talk to people and they would learn, all of the personal things that I had going on, they would say, wow, if that was me, I would give up. Or if it was me, I would just say, don't worry about it. And so that is what birthed the book, Six Pillars of Resilience, because so many people was just impressed by the fact that I had so many things going on and I was just able to continue and pursue and not allow those things to stop me.
Yeah, I mean, as you were saying all that, I'm sitting here like, I mean, I don't even know how you still sitting here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because
it was a lot.
yeah, because some people, and this is so needed because and I want to be sensitive because I feel like this. I feel like we're just in a day and age to where, um, back in the day, people would, you know, take on anything. People would, and people would, and this is mental health stuff too. People would sit there and bury everything, and they go through things and they take a licking and keep on ticking. But it really wasn't all that healthy. And then fast forward to today, the pendulum has swung so far to the other side that one thing happens and the person is just knocked out. Like, oh my God, I can't get it. I can't make it.
Yes.
I can't make it. You get a hangnail and you're like, oh my God. And so it's just funny how it's funny how like it's those two extremes. And like today, like people are not all that stuff you just mentioned. I mean, people, people are not even going through half of that, and they can't, they don't have resilience to get through it. So, I mean, just what do you think about that? Like how, and I'm pretty sure that's why you wrote your book because people kept asking you, how do you get through this? Because I can barely get through, bad traffic, you know?
Think it's because if you think about it, with the internet, with innovation, things come so easy for us. We don't have to, if you really put in time and effort, you can achieve a lot quickly. And so I think because the expectation is that if I pursue it, it will happen for me. And so then when you have an obstacle or when you have, adversity or opposition, and then you're kind of knocked on your back, especially if you have always gotten things easy, if you always had someone to help you, if you always had, that person looking out for you. And so if you think about it, back in the time with our parents and different things like that, they had to pretty much get it how they live because that we were coming out of the civil rights movement. We was coming out of an era where we were pretty much just trying to get our own family in a good place. And so a lot of the times they had to do it by themselves and they had to literally put in sweat equity. But now, we have these different organizations. We have a lot of people are more successful. And so a lot of the times you can call someone and be like, hey, I'm looking for a job, and they'll be like, oh, okay, not a problem, send me your resume. And so it's a lot of, networking now, and we have a lot of access to things that our parents didn't have. And so a lot of people have not had to work for anything. A lot of people haven't had to endure. And so if you think about it, we haven't really lived through a recession. We haven't really had to live through massive layoffs and things of that nature. And so this generation and other generations after our parents, we just have not had to struggle. And so when we have, something happen that's just so small, it can literally, knock a person off their feet because they haven't had to deal with those stressful things.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. So, well, let's talk about the pillars of resilience, because I think that resilience is definitely one of those. Um, well, first of all, let me ask you this: would you say that resilience is a skill that to develop, or a trait to develop, or how would you categorize resilience?
Oh, yes, I categorize resilience as multiple competencies that's coming together to help you be able to become resilient. Because
Okay.
you can possess a certain competency and be resilient in one area, but not so much in another. And so I just feel like it's multiple traits and characteristics that we have in order for us to be able to overcome. Because some people can overcome financial stuff, but then the loss can knock them out. It's like different things that some people are really good at overcoming breakups, but some people a breakup can have them in a depressive state. Some people, so it just depends on, those different traits and characteristics, which is why I identify six that I feel like if you can activate those and if you can kind of just get yourself to a place to where you're stable in those, you're functioning in those, and then you can develop resilience.
Okay. Well, let's get into the six. Let's get into the six pillars. And I would love for you to just give us a brief overview or summary of each one.
Yeah. Basically, what the process I took was when people will always ask me, like, how did you do it or whatever, I was like, okay, so by profession, I'm an HR manager. And so I deal with a lot of competencies, I deal with a lot of, development coaching. And so I was like, okay, Brooks, what competencies do you possess that allow you to be able to quickly overcome all of these setbacks? And so the first pillar is self-actualization. With self-actualization, that's the process of becoming aware and realizing your full potential. And so in order for you to become aware of your full potential and to actually realize it, you first have to identify your strengths and your weaknesses. We're really, really good at identifying our strengths, but when it comes to our weaknesses, we're not vulnerable enough or authentic enough to say, you know what, I'm really not good at this. And if you think about it, even when you write your resumes or even when you're in a job interview, they tell you, to name a weakness that's a strength, kind of camouflage it. And so even, we're always taught, not to really be honest with your weaknesses, but you have to first identify and embrace your weaknesses in order to, develop them, in order to get better at them. Because, some people will say, oh, I'm a team player. It really, so that's like a weakness. No, you helping other people is not a weakness. And so, we're taught to kind of like camouflage weaknesses. And so, like I said, self-actualization is just basically being authentic with yourself, being able to really, really, get to the ugly of yourself to be able to say, okay, these are the things that I struggle with, and these are the things that I need to address and fix. And then the second pillar is emotional intelligence. That's your ability to be able to understand your own emotions as well as those around you. How do you react to things? Do you blow off the handle? Do you immediately get upset? And then, when you're upset, you kind of respond from your emotional stance and not respond logically. So emotional intelligence is also very important. And then we have reasoning. Reasoning is the ability to arrive at a logical conclusion. And so a lot of the times, if the way you think and the way you process information is blurred, then your conclusions are going to be off. And so a lot of the times you're going to miss the mark because you're going to come up with a conclusion that just doesn't make sense. And you've probably been in a situation with someone and you're like, that's not even what I said. That's not, I'm confused as to where this conversation is going. It's because that person doesn't have the ability to reason. And so then you come, the next one is mental agility, which is your ability to be able to think quickly, to be very creative in your thinking. Mental agility helps you to be able to pivot when something happens. And you can be able to come up with a different strategy. So mental agility is very important. And then we have perseverance, of course, which allows you to continue to strive even when adversity comes your way. You will be able to continue to pursue it. You won't be distracted by your circumstance. And then the final pillar is endurance, which is the ability to withstand. And so basically all 6 of those, when activated, will allow a person to be resilient and to be able to just quickly overcome any setback, failure, loss, disappointment, hurt. It doesn't matter what it is. If you're able to activate those pillars, then you would be able to have resilience and would be able to kind of protect yourself from those mental health things that kind of happen when you find yourself in a depressive state.
Okay, okay. So are those in order of, I guess, importance, or you know, do you want to develop the first one first and then all the way up to the sixth one, or is there any order to it?
No, there's no order to it. So
Okay.
basically what it is basically, just developing those. And so what I did was I actually did like a focus group. And so I developed, before I even published a book, I got a couple people together and I created a model. And so the 6 pillars of resilience, each of the actual pillars have like questions, like a 1 to 5 scale. And so basically what I did was I did some market research. I sent it to people just to see, hey, where they were, where they scored, just to gauge the efficiency of this model. And then the ones that scored low in different areas, I gave them strategies to be able to kind of increase in those areas. And so basically there's no rationale to, developing one over the other. It's just basically, working on each of these pillars in order to ensure that you can develop resilience.
Okay, okay. So well, let's talk about a couple of them, I guess, and some ways that a person can improve. And then if you got an example of any one of them, of how you use one of them to really overcome something. Um, and I know you talk about it extensively in your book. That's why I encourage everyone to get the book, The 6 Pillars of Resilience. I read the book. It's a good book. You need to get it, pick it up, because Dr. Brooks definitely goes in depth with her story of how she had to use these things. And so, yeah, could you just like let's say self-actualization. Um, I mean, I guess how can someone improve in that area, or like what's an example of like how you kind of went through that?
So first off, like I said, you have to be authentic with yourself. You have to be open and honest. You have to look at your life and look at yourself and say, okay, these are the things that I like about myself. These are the things that I dislike about myself. And then once you identify those things, and then you have to see, okay, are the things that I am not good at, or the things that I dislike, are they preventing me from reaching the person that I want to become? And
Look,
so
so let me stop right there. See, that what you just said. That's a huge part. Like, if somebody can just make that one step, just realizing that self-awareness. That's what it is. Self-awareness, man. Because so many people don't have self-awareness, and if you can just get that, you can your life could be a whole lot better if you can just realize, that you don't do this well, you don't listen, you know what I'm saying? Like, can't nobody talk to you. Stuff. If you can just get that part, the self-awareness part, I mean, you can go a long way. But go ahead.
a good thing for me, an example of even myself. So in my early 20s, I was in restaurant management and I was given the opportunity to be able to be a trainer. And what I realized with multiple generations in the workplace, I was very impatient with the older generation, but I wasn't aware of that. And so I had so much resistance from the older generation because I wasn't able to communicate with them. And so basically after just a hard time and just people not liking me, what I thought they was not liking me, it wasn't even about them not liking me. It was just about them not being able to receive the training that I was trying to give them. And so when I became self-aware of my inability to be able to train across multiple generations, I had to step back and realize that we learn different, we receive information different, we receive, it's just how we perceive. Everything is different. And so that was preventing me from being a regional trainer. And so, okay, so once I realized, okay, Brooks, Everyone doesn't learn fast. Everyone is not maybe a verbal learner. Some people are more visual. And so I had to really step back and identify ways that I can make other people be more successful, because them failing was me failing as a trainer. And so just little things like that can hold you back in your career, because even though I got the position of a trainer, I wouldn't be able to make a regional trainer because I was getting complaints, right? People was not coming out of my classes, being effective. And so just in the workplace, even in a professional setting, not being able to identify your strengths and your weakness can keep you in a position for years. You can literally be stuck. So if you are a person that does not like to receive feedback, if you are a person that cringes when other people are trying to give you advice or things of that nature, then you really need to self-examine what it is about yourself that's blocking or preventing you from being able to really reach your full potential. And so a lot of the times it's those personality traits. A lot of the times it's maybe some undiscussed trauma. It can be anything that's preventing you from being able to reach your full potential. And then a lot of the times, if you don't want to admit it because, we were raised, you're weak, if you admit something or whatever the case was, it could be cultural, whatever it is, you have to, say, whatever, I'm going to be vulnerable in this moment and I'm going to write down my strengths and my weaknesses.
Yeah. That's huge. That's definitely huge. I know you stepping all on my toes with the with the because my wife always tells me that I don't how she said, you don't do well with slow performers. Like you don't have patience for slow performers. I'm like, well, I'm just saying that so, so yeah, but yeah, I definitely know what you're talking about. Um, okay, emotional intelligence. Let's talk about that one because that's kind of like a that one is like a big thing today going around emotional intelligence. That's one of the things that uh I guess people are looking for in the workplace. Just emotional intelligence, and there's people who coach on emotional intelligence and stuff like that. And so talk about that one. Like, how can a person um improve their emotional intelligence, and just how have you seen this work out through your story?
Well, in order, first you have to be attuned to your emotions.
Mm.
Because you could be a person has low emotional intelligence and you don't realize it because maybe no one have ever called you out on it, or this is just the way that you always respond to stuff. People like to say that's just me, that's just who I am. No, that's not an excuse. And so first you have to be in tune to your emotions, and you have to be able to identify if you are like a hothead, or if you don't handle things well. And so in order to develop it, you first have to be in tune to your emotions. And then once you are in tune to your emotions, you can learn how to manage your emotions. There are a lot of techniques to learn how to manage. For some people, they have to, not address it immediately. For some people, they have to try to, have the person repeat what was just said, or it's a lot of things that you can do. But the first thing is to be in tune with your emotions, because a lot of people get defensive. A lot of people, they listen to respond versus listen to comprehend. A lot of people, when you're having a conversation with them, they're already preparing their rebuttal. And so that's a part of your emotions. That's a part of being able to communicate with others. And the reason why emotional intelligence is so important is because it's one of the key things that we have to have in order to communicate, in order to be able to get along with others, in order to be able to be a part of a team, in order to be able to make decisions. And so that's why a lot of employers are really big on emotional intelligence, because emotional intelligence control how we make decisions. And so are you
Yep.
able to make decisions when you're upset? Are you able to make decisions that are not going to directly benefit you? And so a lot of the times it's difficult for people to take their emotions out of it and look at the bigger picture. And so emotional intelligence is very important, like very important.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. That's definitely I mean, it's probably probably just as important is IQ. Your I know they call it EQ. Probably just as important as your IQ, because no matter how smart you are, but if if can nobody talk to you or can nobody work with you, or flying off the handle all the time, it's not gonna matter how
Yeah.
smart you are, you know. And it just shows, like you said, that you're not very resilient, because if you can't take anything, like that's not you're not very resilient if you think if you just blow up over things. And so that's another one that for me, I would say, well, I'm passionate, you know what I'm saying? But and I am passionate. I'm passionate about what I do, and I care, but sometimes, yeah, I can just let my emotions get the best of me, and and then I'm ready to get hood in the boardroom, in the corporate,
Yeah.
and I'm in
But no,
the
that is so true, because I can remember working with one of the other leaders, and when she would get offended, she would shut down. There's no more, she's not participating in the meeting anymore. If she had the ability to get up and walk out, she would. And that is very, very, that's like frowned upon. Like that is not good. And so I don't think a lot of people realize shutting down, that's, you might as well just curse everybody out in the room. If you're going to shut down and withdraw from, the meeting or whatever the case is, you might just dismiss yourself, because it shows that you don't have the ability, to interact or engage when it's not going your way, or to engage with, different views or perspectives. And so we have to keep cool, and we have to have the ability to be able to get our point across without coming across as aggressive. Because as an African-American female, I have to be very mindful of how I display passion, because I can be labeled as aggressive, difficult to work with. And so emotional intelligence is very important, because I can assure you there is a way to get your point across and be understood without coming across as being unprofessional and being off the hinges.
Yeah, you brought up something important too, because you're right. Getting labeled as the angry black woman or angry black man, that's not a good thing. But it's also, it's also not necessarily that sometimes we're not. I know we get that. We got to be mindful of that. But we just got a different way of, letting you know, like, hey, I don't like this. And so we got a different way of letting you know, I don't like this. But you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, we definitely need to, black people, we need to watch out for that type of thing, and not act a fool in the boardroom,
If you think about it, that's the way that they get us, because they can't get us on our education. They can't get us on our ability to adapt, to adjust, because when it comes to things like that, we are going to every time beat them. But the way that they get us is with our reaction to things. And so, because they know that we are known for not taking any mess. And so and a lot of the times, if you just sit back and watch it, they professionally will taunt you. Like they will literally pick and pick and pick until you, just say something. That's why it's very important just to make sure that you have, a check on your emotions.
If you're thinking about breaking into the tech field, then you should enroll in Course Careers. Our economy has changed, and so has the way we start careers. Course Careers is an online platform that will help you start your career faster without wasting money on college. With the Course Careers program, you can enroll into their online self-paced courses to begin, and you can complete the course in as little as a few weeks. And you don't have to worry about having the time to finish, because all the courses are self-paced. You'll learn everything that's required to land your first job in tech sales, digital marketing, or information technology. The people at Course Careers partner directly with companies that want to hire you when you finish the program. People that finish the program are making $60,000 a year working from home. One person was able to finish the course within 2 weeks, and before they can even apply to any companies, their dream company reached out to them and set up an interview. They offered them over $100,000 a year starting in a fully remote position, and they didn't have any previous experience. If you want to get into the tech field, then go to my website, theladavis.com, to enroll today. And just for my listeners of this show, you can get a $50 discount when you use the coupon code LA50. That's LA50. Just go to theladavis.com/career, and you can also find that link in the show description. Course Careers is the quickest and most affordable way to change or start a career. Yeah, yeah, you're right. It's so important. So, okay, let's talk about what's one of them that you, uh, um, one of them that you struggle with, and then, and how, you kind of overcome with all those, because I know even though you wrote the book, none of us are perfect and we can't do all, everything perfect. And just because you are a subject matter expert on these pillars, that doesn't mean you can still do them perfectly. And I don't, and I don't believe you'll say that you do everything perfect,
I would not. That would be a lie.
right? Because I've never heard most authors that write. They always say, "Yeah, I wrote the book, but that doesn't mean I'm perfect either." You know. But let's tell me one of them that you kind of struggle with, and then how do you kind of overcome that?
Oh, the one that I'm most cognizant of is emotional intelligence. And the reason is because my personality type, I don't like the sarcasm. Like when people try to play me as if I'm not intelligent, or if people try to like do those little sneak disc in the workplace, or I really have to watch that one, because I was raised to stand up for myself. I was raised to advocate for myself. And so a lot of the times it's just me trying to navigate, how I feel personally, because I do take it personal when I feel like you're trying to play me or manipulate me. And so I just really, really have to work on that one. And so a lot of the times I am quick to listen and slow to speak. And so a lot of the times there's a delay in my response and things, especially in a professional setting, because first I have to dust off the I know he didn't or I know she didn't. First I have to play it in my mind, and then I just have to sit and smile and then react. And so I would definitely say emotional intelligence for me, although I have done well over the years of getting that under wraps, I wasn't always so great. That training job that I was talking to you about, I lost it because I literally had a fist fight with one of my employees. And
Wow.
so, my emotional intelligence hasn't always been the best. And so it was at that moment when I lost that job, even though, the employee hit me first, I still, was fired because I fought back. And so basically, the company, they got me an attorney, I was able to go through court. They paid for me, to get the charges dropped and all of that. But after the thousands of dollars that it cost, because I let my emotions get the best of me, I said, you know what? Never again. And so when a person doesn't have anything to lose, they don't mind taking you with them. And so I am very mindful now of my emotions, and because that's been an area that I struggled with early on. And so even though I'm not perfect now, I am better at reacting to things.
Yeah, I guess I would say that's probably mine too. If I had to pick one of them, that's definitely one of mine too. Um, just even yeah, even in close relationships, close personal relationships, I have to kind of watch out for that, my emotions and stuff like that, because I'm just so I'm like, oh no, you ain't gonna you're not gonna do me like all of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And even if the person is not really trying, and when I think about it, the person ain't really trying to get at me or hurt me, but I'm so I let my emotions get the best of me, definitely.
Yeah.
So that's one area that I definitely struggle with, and need to develop that emotional intelligence. Definitely.
Yeah.
Um, so what's okay? What is one of them where you was like you feel more natural to, one of those pillars that you feel just natural? You do that one very well, and it's like a strength of yours.
Perseverance.
Okay.
I have, yeah, perseverance is the one for me. Like it doesn't matter what, like I can try to set out to do something. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It doesn't matter what happens while I'm trying to pursue it. I am going to continue until I reach it. I've always been like that, even as a little kid. If I set my mind to something, I am going to pursue it. I don't care what happened. I don't care who said what, it doesn't matter. And so perseverance for me is definitely one of my strong suits.
Yeah, and I can tell because that's how you are Dr. Brooks now. You had to persevere because you had some things happen with your with you pursuing that doctorate, and that you all can read about that in the book about how just read the book and you'll see how had to she had to overcome to get to be where she is today, to be a doctor. And so yeah, I can tell that's definitely one that you have, because most people most people wouldn't make it after
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor, so
Yeah, I
so
mean, it's hard because I had to literally start over. Like it is, and you put in so much work for something, and you put in so much time. And I think human nature for us is we can't get over the time invested. Like we can get over a lot of things, but when you think about the time that you invest in something, I think that's where most people get tripped up, because it's like I put in so much time and work and effort, and now I have to start over, or I have to rebuild. And so it's that concept of time that gets a lot of people stuck, and they're not able to persevere and move forth because they get so caught up on the time invested. That time invested mindset keep people at jobs that they should have left years ago, in relationships that they should have moved on from. And so that whole concept of time, we just have to let it go, because that right there can really have you stuck.
yeah, you're right, you're right. So okay, what's the benefit of a person just developing just resilience, and what's the benefit of it, and when a person is able to develop these pillars, like how is that going to help them grow?
So the benefits of developing resilience, it actually, people don't believe this, but when you have the ability to quickly overcome, you are protecting yourself emotionally as far as mental health. Because when you can quickly overcome and quickly adjust, you don't have time to develop anxiety. You don't have time to get in a depressive state. And so basically, it's all about guarding your mental health. And so that's why resilience is so important, because resilience allow you to also build those relationships. It allow you to communicate better with others. It allow you to just be able to move forth and enjoy life. Because a lot of the times when you face something, or you have a loss or a failure, or something that's so difficult, the longer you sit in it, the longer that it begins to eat away at other areas in your life. So just being able to overcome things and overcome them quickly, that's just very beneficial to your overall health.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I heard this. Someone said this before, that one trait that you like all successful people that are like uber successful on a high level, the one thing that they all have is they always they when they have a failure or whatever, they bounce back quicker than anybody else, and then they go from one thing to the next, and they don't stay down too long. They don't have a long pity party. They might you know have a pity party, and then they get right back at it. And so people say that that's like the one common trait that all successful people have, is they don't stay down, and they don't stay in that depressed mode for long, right?
Yeah, and so basically, developing resilience will help you have a better outlook. You would be more optimistic when it comes to your life. You would have a more of a positive outlook. If something fails, you're like, you know what, that didn't work. Let me try something else. And so basically, it's just all about, like I said, maintaining that mental health. Just maintaining your mental health. Don't allow anything to get you in a place to where you are just stuck, and you are just gloom in a gloomy place. And so I even like my daughter, I tell her, Oh, you got 24 hours to cry it out, and then we're going to move on. Like, we're not going to sit here. Because the longer that you sit here, then other insecurities will come up. You will begin to question things that are not even wrong with you. Why was I not good enough, or whatever the case is? And so, your mind will get the best of you. That's why even in the book, I talk about your mindset, because you can develop all of these traits, but if you don't have your mindset, then it's not going to work, because our mind controls everything. And so you still have to get your mind together. And so that's why, yeah, no, we're not going to wallow in it. I give you about 24 hours, and then we're going to have to move on. We're going to have to come up with strategies to be able to just, move forth, move into something else. And so that's why it's very important that we don't get, that we have options. Because a lot of the times, if you set your heart on this one thing, and if it doesn't work out for you, and then you're so devastated and you can't bounce back. And so that's why you have to know that you're good enough to have options. If one company don't work out, guess what? It's 20 more out there that'll take you, that'll have you. And so we just have to know that we are enough to have options.
Yeah, yeah. I could have used this. I feel like I'm better, a whole lot better now. I
Yeah.
definitely could have used this years ago because, you know, probably 10 years ago, I wasn't as resilient as I am today. Um, and because, um, I know I took too long wallowing in a certain thing that happened to me, and you know, still trying to like make something happen that wasn't going to happen, right? And so if I would have, you know, learned this a long time ago, I would have been better. I mean, but I think things still happen for a reason. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Does a person like is resilient? I think resilience, the only way to develop resilience and to develop these pillars is actually kind of to go through things. Like, what do you think? Like, I don't know if you can do this. It's like no pain, no gain. Like, can you even do this and develop resilience like without ever going through anything?
No, because that's why the people don't have resilience, because when something happens, it's like so dramatic to them. And so basically, those life lessons, they're very important. Every failure, every disappointment, every heartbreak is necessary, because basically what it teaches us is to show up for ourselves. How are you going to show up? Are you going to show up empty, or are you going to show up full? And so basically, if you don't have any obstacles, setbacks, or failures, disappointment, heartaches, hurt, you will never know if you're able to overcome, because you haven't had anything to overcome.
Yeah, yeah,
And so that's why a lot of the times when people have, they always talk about the person with the golden spoon in their mouth, then something happens, and then a lot of them unfortunately commit suicide, or a lot of them, have mental breakdowns, because they never had to overcome anything. Everything was always done for them. And so that's why, even as parents, it's important to teach our children to be self-sufficient to a certain extent, to allow our children to be able to make decisions, to allow our children to be able to problem solve and critical think and process things. Because when they go off to college, or when they go out into the real world, no one's going to parent your kid like you parent your kid. And so that's why it's very important. That's why, those adults that you work with, and they just like have no skills, and you like, who failed you? And so that's why it's very important that we, even when they're small, teach them how to be thinkers, teach them how to process, teach them how to be able to, just to be able to do all of those things and develop all those competencies that they need to be a successful adult.
yeah. You're right. You're right. And I think it is. It's like, you know, um, the Bible says that we're more than overcomers, and when I hear that, you got to think about it. Well, how can you be an overcomer if you ain't never been through anything? Like, you can't overcome nothing. So, you know what I mean? And that's what I think about. So, let me ask you this. This is my last question. Let me ask you this. I know you went through all the things that you went through, and like I said, I don't know how you're sitting here, but after going through all that, and we all go through things, um, but uh, I know I spent a lot of time myself in the past. I spent a lot of time saying, "Man, this wouldn't have happened, blah blah blah. That wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen." But then as I've matured as I've grown, and as I've grown in my faith, as I've grown in just understanding God's word, I realized, you know what? I don't know why I'm sitting here saying if this wouldn't have happened, because all those things are led me to be the man that I am today, you
Yeah.
know. And so let me ask you, like, if you had the power to change any of those, all those things that you went through, and I know I know you could have had, like, for instance, I know you wish that your friend was still here and things like that, but just if you could just change any of those things that happened to you in the past, would you change them? And why or why not?
So I actually thought about that. And so when I was in the root of it, when I was going through it, I would complain and I would just, wish that I could change it, wish that I can change it. But then when I got on the outside and I was able to actually just look at it, I wasn't enjoying the journey. And so basically, have you ever been mindset on something, achieving it so bad that you miss out on the journey? Like when I was first pursuing my doctorate degree, I was like a robot. So I wasn't even enjoying it. And so looking back at it, being kicked out of that school was the best thing that happened to me. And the reason why I say it was the best thing that happened to me, it matured me. Because academic, I've always got it so easy, never struggled when it came to academics. And so it was a lot of, learning about myself, the I had to develop and grow and to be able to take critical feedback. I had to realize that it wasn't a personal attack. It had nothing to do with my intellect, my ability to write. And so it was just a lot that I learned about myself. I also learned that I compromised on some things that I shouldn't have compromised on. I was so desperate. I allowed myself to get in such a desperate place to where I allowed people to speak things over me that wasn't true. So like one of the instructors used to say, you can't write. And I knew that was a lie. Like I knew that I'm a very great writer, but then I paid $5,000, $6,000 for a coach to help me with my writing when that wasn't necessary because I could write. And so it's just a lot of things that I learned about myself. And I just told God I would never allow anyone, to make me feel like I'm less than or to project on me how they feel about themselves. And so this whole ordeal, the past 4 or 5 years of my life has just really pushed me into the woman that God wanted me to be. And so I wouldn't change a thing. Everything that I went through, it was a lesson in it for me. Even with losing my friend, it was interesting because the entire time she battled cancer 4.5 years and death wasn't an option for me. That's how strong my faith was. And even when she passed away, I said, wow, God, I just didn't even consider death. And, God had to let me know that she's healed. Like she's healed in heaven. You wanted her to be here on earth, but at the end, her life was not what it was. She was more so bedridden. It was just a lot. And so I learned so much about myself, even with having to take care of my mom. I learned that I'm very patient. I learned that I am very, just resilient when it comes to certain things. And so, yeah, no, I wouldn't change a thing. That scripture that says all things that work together for the good of those that love the Lord and called according to his purpose. And so even the things that was sent to, stop me, being kicked out of that school, the enemy wanted me not to pursue it. He wanted me to give up. But 3 schools later, 5 years later, I finally graduated. And so, yeah, I wouldn't change anything. Everything was necessary in order for me to learn and to grow.
Yeah, I figured you would say that.
Yeah.
I figured you would say that. Yeah, and that's true. I just think about the scripture. It was good for me that I was afflicted.
Mhm.
And that's definitely. I know that I am who I am today, and life is a whole lot richer.
Yes.
With going through the things that I've gone through. I got some scars and some things, and but life is a whole lot richer, and when you do that, so
Right. To appreciate things too. Like I think a lot of the times we take careers for granted, we take family for granted, we take the fact that we have homes. a lot of the things we take for granted, and the whole experience, even of me being able to move my mom in and to care for her, everybody doesn't have that luxury. And so it's even that was a blessing in itself. And so just to be able to be in a place to where I'm mentally good, in a place where, my family is healthy, I just thank God every day, because, we just came out of of a pandemic. We, all of us, was very unsure. And so the pressure of that was even during this time of birthing this book. And so I learned a lot about myself, but I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah. So, and that teacher was lying. She didn't know what she was talking about, because you are a published author. The book is The Six Pillars of Resilience. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, go get the book, pick up the book. Dr. Brooks did a good job, and definitely goes more into depth of her story and how she had to be resilient. And so, can you tell us any last words, and where can we get the book, and how can we connect with you?
Yes. So my final words would just be to just show up for yourself. A lot of the time we show up for everybody else. You can be the best husband, you can be the best brother, the best wife, the best mom, whatever your relationship is with other people and that leading role that you play. But it is time for you to stand center stage and show up for yourself. A lot of the times when we have to show up for ourselves, that's when that fear wants to come. But you have to figure out, how are you going to use your fear? Are you going to let the fear, make you coward away? Or are you going to let that fear turn you into the lion that you were created to be? And so I would just encourage everyone to just show up for yourself, because you can look back on situations that may have happened in your life and you thought that you wasn't going to survive, but guess what? You survived. And so your season will change. Seasons change. We have a God that created seasons. And so even though you may feel like you're in a tough time right now, I can assure you that that season will change. And so the best thing that you can do while you're in this season is to just work on yourself and to prepare yourself to go into the next chapter. So that's what I would leave with everyone. The book can be purchased on Amazon or Barnes and Nobles, as well as my website, brooksdemming.com. And they can get in touch with me via my website or all of my social media handles, which is Brooks Demming.
Okay, and I'll make sure I put a lot of that, the website and all that stuff in the show description and in the show notes. And so, Brooks, Dr. Brooks, thank you for coming on and just blessing my audience. You wrote a fantastic book. You wrote a much needed book. Definitely a book to have in your collection for self development. And so definitely get the book. Dr. Brooks, thank you for coming on. I enjoyed it.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I actually had a wonderful time. This has been a pleasure. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Hey, everybody. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Dr. Brooks Demming. That's it. That's all I got for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. Listen, if you like the show, please rate it, leave a review. Hey, and please share this with somebody. Please share this with somebody. I know you know someone who needs this, so please share it with somebody. Hey, thanks again for watching and listening. And remember, let's win in life. And to do that, you got to keep a growth state of mind.